Bible prophecy is active and unfolding daily. Zechariah 12, Isaiah 17, Ezekiel 38. Here is what the LameStream Media is not telling you.
Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. From CNN, U.S. intelligence is monitoring a series of cargo flights from Iran into Syria that the U.S. suspects may include weapons that could be used to threaten Israel. Of course. While weapons shipments into Syria are not uncommon, these flights involving Iran have caught the attention of U.S. intelligence because they occurred in the days after the April 13th U.S. airstrikes on Assad regime targets. Then from the State Department, the U.S. will remain committed in Syria until ISIS is defeated. I guess that means we're not leaving. And so crazy, you know, I mean, the U.S. finances ISIS, created ISIS, and now they're saying, we got to get out of here, but we're not going to leave until ISIS is defeated. And the so-called caliphate is completely eliminated. You know, it's just more political rhetoric, I guess, my friends. I don't think ISIS will ever be defeated. Anyway, we will work to ensure global forces, they say, enabled by our regional partners and allies, will consolidate these gains, stabilize liberated territories, and prevent the return of ISIS. Well, you can always hope. We will not leave a vacuum that can be exploited by the Assad regime and its supporters. Yeah. Then, from Ynet News, Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman warned last Thursday that if Iran attacks Tel Aviv, Israel will attack Tehran and destroy every Iranian military outpost in Syria threatening Israel. My first thought is, well, what are you waiting for? Why don't you just do that anyway? Anyway, Lieberman added that the Islamic Republic regime's days are numbered. In an interview with the London-based Elaf Saudi news site, Lieberman said that while Israel did not seek war with anyone, it will not tolerate an Iranian presence in Syria, whatever the cost may be. Quote, Iran is trying to establish bases in Syria and arm them with advanced weapons. From there, it wants to attack us. I cannot sit idly by while I watch Iran do that close to the Golan Heights. The Russians know that we will not allow Iran to build bases in Syria and to transfer advanced weapons in order to attack us. Close quote. Then, from the National Abu Dhabi, U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis told the Senate Armed Services Committee last week that Iran is not only expanding and strengthening its presence in Syria, but is also bringing advanced weapons for Hezbollah through Syria. Israel, he said, will not wait to see those missiles in the air, and we hope Iran will pull back. A senior fellow at the Middle East Institute said the Iranian presence in Syria is becoming a hugely explosive issue, presenting a threat that is unacceptable. Israel cannot continue to watch it grow. What it means is the Israelis need to do something, and so we are starting to see more aggressive, more risky strikes. You may remember it wasn't all that long ago, my friends. Months. Iran was, kind of quiet in the news. And they would pop up a little bit here and there. And I said, you mark my words, Iran is going to wind up being the big dog in Satan's army. And here, I don't know, the past month, 6 weeks, Iran has been like burgeoning like crazy. Turning to my personal thoughts. If you haven't yet watched Pastor J.D. Farag's Mideast Prophecy Update from this past Sunday, my friends, you don't want to miss it. It's a good one. Except for the tail end where he does the ABCs of salvation. You know, forgive me, but it's just, that irritates me no end, because it presents the idea that all you have to do are these 3 things today and you're done. You know, TV evangelism has been promoting that idea for decades. And, you know, people say the prayer and then that's it. They never pursue, many never pursue a relationship with Elohim, and that's not what it's about. Plus, on his ABC thing, on the C thing, is you call on the name, and he doesn't tell anybody the name to call on. And let me tell you something, it ain't Jesus. It's the Father's name. You know, I love JD, my friends, but unfortunately, you know, the corporate 501c3 thing has got him a little bit hand-tied. Nonetheless, his Mideast prophecy this past Sunday is powerful. Don't miss it. There's a link for you below. And, you know, recently, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I noticed my favorite watchman, Pastor J.D., continuing to talk about Ezekiel 38, Isaiah 17, and Zechariah 12, but excluding Psalm 83, and he's never done that before. He's always had Psalm 83 in there as part of the picture for a long time. Then you know, and I was like, what's up? You know, he just drops it without saying anything. Then somebody said that JD had a meeting with Amir Sarfati, and Sarfati convinced him that Psalm 83 was already fulfilled. So, what? He just drops it without explaining his change of opinion to the flock? I watch JD every week. I never heard him say, oh, by the way, I've changed my tune about Psalm 83. He just stops talking about it. And that bothers me too, because how come nobody notices? I mean, didn't they learn that he always mentioned 4? So that when he starts only mentioning 3, nobody asks what happened to number 4? Yeah, I don't get it, my friends. But, dear caregiver, my little girl with the basket, she sent me a link to a video by Amir Sarfati where he explains the whole thing. I watched it, and wow, Amir is right on the mark, my friends. So I want you to know, today I'm telling you, I'm changing my stance on Psalm 83 as well. It has been fulfilled, because every one of the countries mentioned in Psalm 83, if you go back 50 years, they were enemies all to Israel. But if you go less than 50 years, not so. So, you know, for example, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, they're at peace with Israel. So Psalm 83, you know, these things are complicated, and that's why we have people like Amir Sarfati to clarify things for us that we didn't have the time to grab onto recently ourselves. And of course, you'll see a link to Amir's video below so you can hear his explanation yourself. Now, on another note, there are many out there on the web making videos and calling themselves watchmen. But in my opinion, just like, you know, teachers, evangelists, prophets, watchmen, these titles are not given by men, certainly not to themselves. These titles are given by Elohim, and others will give them the title. In my opinion, most of these out there calling themselves watchmen are just pontificating on things that they bump into on the web. They see things out there and they, they'll put it together as if it's their own knowledge. But problematically, they are not vetting the validity of the information, and they're often reporting things that just aren't true. For example, the recent false story, what was it, last week? So many were shouting about, saying that California is looking at a bill that's going to ban the sales of all Bibles in the state of California. Bogus. So if you've been wondering why you haven't heard me shouting about any of the watchmen out there, well, that is the reason. I look for more than just repetitive or consistent video productions. I look for the Ruach. And today I'm telling you, my friends, that Amir Tsarfati is the first person next to JD I've seen who truly fits the bill, and in many ways, even in more than, well, in some ways, he's a watchman in some ways where JD isn't, and vice versa. But Amir fits the bill, my friends, and I'm shouting out about him today as being a most worthy watchman on the wall. Amir Tsarfati actually talks about current events from a personal experience and knowledge, and with a properly informed understanding. I have to admit, I'm picky. I find him a bit difficult to pay attention to for more than a few minutes at a time. I'm not sure why yet. I've only watched him a couple of times. It's something about his delivery that I find distracting. It could just be that having that wall so close to the back of his head, offering no depth perception, I don't know about you, but that makes me feel closed in. Also, the fact that his head sits too low in the video with his camera looking down at him. You know, the camera should be eye level or even a little bit lower looking up, which gives more of an authority to the person on the other side of the camera or in front of the camera. But his camera's looking down at him. It makes him look less. And as a watchman, he shouldn't look like less. He should look bold and strong. And then look at the books on the shelves. Just above and to the left of his head, can you read the book title of Josephus? Get a mirror, it might help. And to the right side of his head, can you read the book title of JFK, as in John F. Kennedy? John Fitzgerald Kennedy. His camera is saving a totally reversed image. I imagine when he looks at his own videos, it looks pretty cool because he's seeing his face the way he sees his face in the mirror. You know, when I look at myself, I have a little, I have trouble figuring out which hand to use. I have a little wave in my beard here. In fact, it caused me to try and straighten it out with scissors, and I kind of almost messed it up terribly. I just messed it up a little bit. But when I look in the mirror, this is over here. Anyway, these are poor production elements that would distract someone like me no end, my friends. Check out the links below for Amir Tsarfati's video, and also Pastor JD's Mideast Prophecy Update. Also, by the way, my friends, Thursday's live stream will just be myself and caregiver. Brad Scott can't make it this week. We'll probably see Brad with us on next week's Thursday live stream. But Caregiver and I will be there at 7 p.m. Eastern Time this coming Thursday. If you have any questions, post them under today's newscast, and we'll be sure to address them this coming Thursday. Now, turning to wars and rumors of wars, on Friday, April 27th, from Ynet News, the Israeli Air Force attacked 6 targets belonging to the Hamas naval force in Gaza after a large-scale attempt by Israeli Arab rioters to breach the border fence and enter Israel. Then on Sunday, April 29th, from the Associated Press, a missile attack in northern Syria killed 26 pro-government fighters, mostly Iranians, and wounded 60 others. The attack appears to have targeted an arms depot for surface-to-surface missiles at a base known as Brigade 47. Then from the Jerusalem Post, Hezbollah-affiliated Al-Akhbar reported that the targets of Sunday's strike were Syrian army bases being used by Iran's Revolutionary Guards and Shiite militias. According to some reports, the target in Hama was an underground missile production facility funded by Iran and built with the help of good old North Korea. Turning to our Intifada update. From Ynet News, in recent days, the Israeli Arabs have advanced their jumping-off points towards the Israeli border and have set up tents 100 to 200 meters from the fence. According to the Israeli Arab newspaper Al-Ayam, quote, teams for breaking through the fence have been training to throw hooks at the fence to pull it down. The main goal of the riots, orchestrated by Hamas, is to break through the fence, allowing thousands of Israeli Arabs to run into Israeli territory. That's the victory picture Hamas is looking for on May 15th. Now on Thursday, April 26th, from the Times of Israel, Israeli security forces arrested 2 West Bank Palestinians with a pipe bomb at the Ein Yael checkpoint in southern Jerusalem on Thursday night. In northern Jerusalem, shots were fired at an Israeli military outpost near the West Bank community of Beit El. A number of houses were damaged by the gunfire. Then on Saturday, April 28th, from Ynet News, a wheat field in Israel was set on fire by a firebomb kite flown from Gaza. Sunday, April 29th, from Haaretz, Israeli soldiers shot 2 Israeli Arabs after they tried to damage the border fence. One was killed, the other was apprehended. In a separate incident, 2 Israeli Arabs threw firebombs at Israeli soldiers stationed near the fence before soldiers responded by killing both of them. Then, in a third incident, 2 Israeli Arabs armed with knives were arrested attempting to breach the border. Then from Ynet News, a fire broke out at the Kisufim forest in Israel due to a firebomb kite flown from Gaza. Then from Haaretz, a member of Hamas was arrested by the IDF on Sunday morning at the Gaza border fence near the Carney crossing. A video shows the man climbing the fence under the cover of fog and damaging a security camera. And now looking at our review of last week's news. U.S. intelligence is monitoring a series of cargo flights from Iran into Syria that the U.S. suspects may include weapons that could be used to threaten Israel. The Israeli Air Force attacked 6 targets belonging to the Hamas naval force in Gaza. A missile attack in northern Syria killed 26 pro-government fighters, mostly Iranians, and wounded 60 others. Israeli Arabs have advanced their jumping-off points towards the Israeli border, setting up tents 100 to 200 meters from the fence. Israeli security forces arrested 2 West Bank Palestinians with a pipe bomb at the Ain Yael checkpoint in southern Jerusalem. Then in northern Jerusalem, shots were fired at Israeli military outposts near the West Bank community of Beit El. A wheat field in Israel was set on fire by a firebomb kite flown from Gaza. Israeli soldiers shot 2 Israeli Arabs after they tried to damage the border fence. 2 Israeli Arabs threw firebombs at Israeli soldiers who responded by killing them both. 2 Israeli Arabs armed with knives were arrested attempting to breach the border. A fire broke out at the Kisufim forest in Israel due to a firebomb kite flown from Gaza. And a member of Hamas was arrested by the IDF on Sunday morning at the Gaza border fence. And that, my friends, is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Abba willing, I'll see you here again next week. Until then, keep your wicks trimmed and your lamps burning bright. Shalom, my friends.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath a naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.